All right. Shalom. Yahweh Bashem Yashar B'Katam to the brothers that are in class and watching online. Shalom Yahweh Shemar Al-Tam Bashem Yashar to the sisters in class and also watching online. Today is the Wednesday law class. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, which started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. I am Priest and Officer Shargapan holding down the law class. And right now we're streaming live for the Hudson Valley. Every Black, Hispanic, Native American living in the Hudson Valley area, whether it's Orange County, Dutchess County, Putnam County, Westchester, Rockland County, from the tip of the Bronx all the way to Albany. And of course, for everyone worldwide that's tuning in. So today is going to be part 2. The class is titled George Floyd was murdered because of poor leadership, part 2. So we're going to continue from what we left off last week. Who remembers what we discussed last week? Brother?
I mean, we were talking about the rules for having a leader over Israel and what the criteria was I set it in place.
Okay, what was the criteria?
To have the king that Most High would choose to be our king over us, and it would never be somebody that was not of our brothers. It would be within Israel.
Yes, that's correct. That the king, the Most High would choose would give us a king that He chose, right? And that this king will be from among our people, so it'll be one of our own kind that will be ruling over us. Now, do you remember what was some of the criteria?
Some of this criteria for it would be found in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 17.
Well, let's go there.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 17.
Actually, go to verse 18.
Verse 18. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 18. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. So
whatever ruler was going to be over us, whatever king the Most High was going to give us, this king, what he would do is, on the throne that he will sit on that was given to him by the Lord, he would have a copy of the law. He would have all the laws of Moses. He would have the book of Isaiah, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Obadiah. This king will have the book of Revelations, the book of Job, the book of Galatians, the book of 1 John, 2 John, 1 Peter, 2 Peter. This king will have a copy of the entire Bible with him. Right? Keep going, next verse.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 19. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Most High his power, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them.
And this king, this ruler, this leader of Black, Hispanic, and Native American, the purpose of him having and carrying this book of the law, the Bible, with him, is because he will be reading it every day. He's going to be learning from it every single day. He'll understand why he needs to fear the Lord every single day when he reads it. And he'll keep all the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God by having this book with him 24/7. This book will be attached to his hip, like some people, like murderers have a gun attached to their waist. This Bible will be attached to this man's chest, like drug dealers have fanny packs made of Gucci and Versace attached across their chest because they're hiding all the drugs and money that they're selling and getting. The Bible will be attached to this man's hand, like how lovebirds, people walking down the street in love are hand in hand. This king, this man will have the Bible at his fingertips and at his disposal at every single moment. Because at any single moment, a king, a ruler, a leader is going to have to rule, is going to have to lead, is going to have to make decisions on what's fair, what's not fair, what's right, what's wrong, what's righteous, what's not righteous, what's lawful, what's unlawful, right? So based on this, right, I know we have some parents that are in the room. I know we have parents and people who have children watching online. I would like to know, what do you think are some good qualities a leader should have? What are some good qualities a ruler should have? What are some qualities that a king should have? Yes, sis?
Sticking to his word.
What happened?
Sticking to his word.
Yes. A good leader should stick to his word, right? What else? Abadia?
Not be a coward.
Not be a coward. That's correct. What else? Come on, think about as a role of a parent. What makes you a good parent? Abadia?
Selflessness.
Selflessness, okay. What else?
Determined to make sure things go the right way. They learn the right things and walk in the right path.
Yes. And how do you do that?
By yourself walking into the right path and doing the right thing.
Okay. What if they can't see you doing that? What if you are away from home on a business trip for 2 weeks? You know, what is it that you're doing? What is it that can be done?
I'm just gonna hope that they understood what you said and keep on doing what you're supposed to do and not be the wrong way.
Yes, right? Because if you're not there, you want to hope that they're doing the right thing, right? But what guarantees that they will do the right thing? What do you have to do to them? What must be done for them? That way your hope is a guarantee. You know they're not gonna touch the stove. You know they're not gonna lie and skip on their homework. You know they're actually gonna brush their teeth before going to bed. You know they're gonna learn how to clean their room. What is it that you have to do?
Discipline.
Yes. Give the sister a hand. Oh, give the young sister a hand. Because she probably is like, my mom and dad disciplined me. She's sitting next to her mom, is like, how is my mom not getting this right now? Don't you know I got in trouble earlier and the day before that? You know, little man's over there, zoned out, right? But when he comes to age, he too will be disciplined to learn how to focus. He too will be disciplined on what is appropriate at this age, where what was appropriate. He will learn what is not appropriate at this age when it was appropriate at a younger age, right? So let me get that scripture, train up a child. Anyone know where it's at?
Proverbs 22:6, right?
Proverbs 22:6. Let's get Proverbs 22:6.
Proverbs chapter 22:6.
Abadia, can you bring me some napkins, Babakasha? The water.
Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go.
What does it say?
Train up a child in the way he should go.
Now, why is this important for a king? Why is this important for a ruler? Why is this important for a leader? To train up a child the way he should go. Brandon?
Because if you're a king or a leader, everybody underneath you is really like a child anyway.
Yes. Just like we are children to Christ, just like we are children to our own parents, just like we are children of the Most High, because the Most High calls us his children, right?
Right.
We have to be trained up the way we need to go. And what do we need in order to be trained up?
Law, statutes, and commandments.
Correct. Just like it states in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 19, right? Let's go back to that real quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 19. And it shall be with him.
Stop. So in order to have a king, in order to have a ruler, in order to have a judge, in order to have someone like commanding General YAHANNA, right? It shall be with him. We're talking about the Bible, right? Commanding General YAHANNA doesn't go nowhere without a Bible. These prophets, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Obadiah, they didn't go nowhere without a Bible. These are rulers. These are kings. These are leaders of Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. Moses didn't go anywhere without the laws of God. Christ didn't go nowhere without the laws of God. You gonna say something about it?
I just wanted to say that's not uncommon and that's not strange, because anytime anybody talks about anything, when you talk about these senators and these judges here in America, first they want to mention is what's called BS Constitution. Well, we have our Constitution, and we have guidelines that the head of our states have to carry that Constitution wherever they go, so it's always on their mind.
Correct. So just like here in Babylon, aka America, we have to always uphold the law of this land, the Constitution, right, the amendments, the laws that each state produces. Well, in order to train up your child correctly, you have to make sure that the law is with him at all times, that the law is with her at all times. What else? Today's a good day to get some discipline. So, no, we want to continue reading Deuteronomy 17 and 19. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19. And he shall read them therein all the days of his life.
Stop. So a good ruler, right, has to read these laws, has to know these laws. So a ruler just isn't born a ruler. At one point, that ruler was a child, like this little man here, or this young woman here. Right. So we have to train up these young rulers. We have to train up our sons to be rulers and leaders of their people. Right. We have to train up our daughters to know what they can and cannot do, to know what's allowed and what's not allowed. And that starts by reading the laws every day of their life. From the moment they're born, from the moment they can walk and crawl, from the moment they can say no and yes and dad and mom, to the time they are parents. Every day they should be reading the law or being taught the law or learning about the law. Keep going.
Verse 19 in the middle. That he may learn to fear the Most High, his power.
Say it again.
That he may learn to fear the Most High, his power.
Because in order to be a good leader, in order to be a good ruler, in order to be a king, you have to be able to fear that which put you in that position. Right. Moses feared the Lord because Moses knew that the Lord can make a bush just pop on fire. Moses knew that the Lord can send meteorites come crashing down from the earth. Moses knew that the Lord can send hail at the same time as there's fire coming out of the ground. Right. Elijah feared the Lord because he knew that he can put water inside of think about this, putting water inside of a barbecue grill, putting wood in there, putting more water, and then it just happens to come on fire because the Lord is the one. He's that powerful. You have to be able to, in order to be a good leader, you have to fear that which gave you that power, that which gave you that ability. Now, when your daughter gets, I don't know if she babysits the little man now or not, but at the time you and your husband might want to go out, you and your wife might want to go out, enjoy yourself. You have a daughter that you raised that's old enough to take care and watch her little brother. She has to fear both of you because you're the ones that put her in that position to watch her younger brother, to make sure that he eats, to make sure that the house is not messy, right? She has to fear the power that you gave her. Just like leaders in the I.S.U.P.K fear the power that's given to them. Every captain fears the power that was given to them by the generals. Every officer fears the power that was given to them by the captains. And every trooper should fear the power that was given to them by their officers. Because without that, we can't lead correctly. Without fearing the Lord, we don't read the scriptures. Without fearing the Lord, we can't tell our people what's right and what's wrong. And without fearing, and if we don't fear the Lord, we'll end up being like every other Pharisee that let their people sin, that abuse their people, that charge them triple tithes and double tithes, that tells them that you can eat pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster as long as you come to church and give me money on Sundays. We'll end up being just like every other pastor who buys expensive jewelry and comes to the church in the most expensive cars where their parishioners have holes in their shoes, are struggling to pay their rent, that's because these people who are supposed to be leaders do not fear God. Because if they feared God, just like we're supposed to be trained up to, they would know it's their responsibility to take care of their people. Keep reading.
Verse 19 at the end. To keep all the words of this law and these statutes.
So we have to train up a child to do what?
To keep all the words of this law and these statutes.
And when that child grows up to be a leader, he's been trained to do what?
To keep all the words of this law and these statutes.
So here in the I.S.U.P.K, since men lead the congregation, we train boys to be men because they're going to be leaders. And here we train young ladies to grow up to be mothers because they're going to be the ones at some point in time training their newborns, training their youth to read the Bible, to obey them, to obey their father, to fear God, right? We're going to need people to train up children to cook, train up children to clean, train up children how to take care of themselves, how to feed themselves. We can't do that without the woman. We can't do that without the man. And we all have roles that we play. So read that again.
To keep all the words, like the end of verse 19. To keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them.
Now, right? Now, a good leader trains up his or her children in the way they're supposed to go. Now, if your child doesn't do what you're training them to do, what happens?
As far as what?
If little man doesn't clean up his room like you told him to do, what happens? If the young lady doesn't do her homework, what happens? Discipline. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 12. Because are you disciplining your daughter because you want to? Are you disciplining your son because you want to? What's the purpose of you disciplining them? What's the purpose of you correcting them or chastising them?
So you get it right.
So they can get it right. Why do you want them to get it right?
Because I ain't gonna be around forever.
Yes, you aren't going to be around forever. But more importantly, what if you are going to be around forever? Why do you want them to get it right? Why do you not want your daughter to fail in school? Why do you not want your son to be out in the streets hustling all day? What happened?
It's not the right thing.
Yes, it's not the right thing, but why is it not the right thing? Why don't you want them to do it? Abadia?
So you understand there's a bad end to it.
Say it again?
You understand there's a bad end to it.
Bad end to it, yes. So you don't want them to what? If there's a bad end to it,
You don't want them to suffer. You don't
because you
love them.
clap it up. You don't want your children to fail because you love them. You don't want your people to fail because you love them. Just like the Most High doesn't want us to fail, doesn't want us to sin, doesn't want us to worship other gods because he loves us. So sometimes, like a parent, because you love your children, you might have to give them a spanking. You might have to take away their Nintendo Switch, right? You might have to take away their cell phone because they're failing in school, right? You're not doing it just because, you're doing it because you love them. You love them so much that you want to make sure, you want to help them understand what they're doing is wrong so that way they can do what's right. Read Proverbs 3, chapter 12.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 12. For whom the Most High loveth, he correcteth.
Isn't the Most High our God?
Right.
Doesn't he love us? Throughout the Bible, it says that the Most High loves us, right? But throughout the Bible, it shows how the Most High had to correct us, right? Because we're stiff-necked people, because we're stubborn, because we're hard-headed, because we constantly sin, because we want to do things against what our Father told us to do. Read it again.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 12. For whom the Most High loveth, he correcteth.
Now, didn't Moses love the people? Right? Didn't Joseph love his brothers that came to Egypt seeking food? Didn't Ezekiel love his people? Didn't Christ love his people? Christ loved his people so much that he went into the temple and was whipping behind because they were doing illegal things and unlawful things on the Sabbath day in the temple. Abadia?
Slide, I got a scripture.
What scripture is it?
Proverbs 13 and 24.
Can you come closer so that way the mic can capture it?
Come on. It's Proverbs 13 and 24.
Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24.
He that spareth his rod.
He that what?
Spareth his rod.
The Most High does not spare his rod. Because when it's time for you to get punished, he punishes you. Now, of course, like every good parent, you allow your child to make mistakes to see if they learn on their own. You give them a second chance. You give them a third chance. But then there's a time where you have no more chances and you need to be taught a lesson. You need to be grounded for a month so that way you understand that you're not supposed to be failing your spelling test. You need to have your Nintendo Switch taken away because you don't know how to brush your teeth at night or put your plate away in the sink like your mom and dad tells you to. Right? Yeah, see, he's shaking his head, right? Keep going, Abadia.
Hateth his son.
So when you hate your son or hate your daughter, you don't discipline them.
Right.
That's why we have all these young girls out there selling their body, smoking weed and giving their body up. That's why we have all these young brothers walking around with guns and killing other young men. That's why we have brothers on the corners selling drugs, using drugs, because no one loved them enough to discipline them, to tell them I'm not going to tolerate it or else. No one loved them enough to kick them out the house until they learn that in order to come back, you have to follow my rules.
Right.
God loves us so much that he won't kick us out until we learn to follow his rules. Like when we went into slavery in Babylon, we didn't want to follow God's rules, so he kicked us out and let us go into slavery. Then he took us back when we cried out to him to obey him. When he let us out of Egypt, when he let us out of Assyria, when he allowed us to defeat the Greeks, right? Read it from the top again, Abadia.
Proverbs 13 and 24. He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth them chasteneth him betimes.
Now, the reason why I brought up and was trying to get you to give me the answer of discipline is because sometimes leaders, a ruler, a king, just like Commanding General YAHANNA, just like all the generals underneath him, just like all the captains in every city, sometimes officers, troopers, our children, people in the world need to be disciplined. And sometimes a good ruler knows when is the right time to discipline people. Sometimes a good leader knows when it's the right time to discipline someone, to correct them, to chastise them, because they love them. Now, I want to give you an example. Let's go to the book of Exodus, right? And let's go to the book of Exodus, verse 20. Book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 25. The book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 25. Now, I know for the people that are watching or here in the class, and I know we might have gone over this for a different class based on law, but this is a good example of a time where discipline is needed. Now, discipline can be, like my mom, a flick in the ear or a pull of the ear, right? It could be a smack on the hand. It could be me being grounded for a month and not allowed to watch TV. Or in certain cases, it could be putting someone to death. Or having multiple people put to death. Because the Lord doesn't just punish one person if one person makes a mistake. The Lord punishes all of us just for the mistake of one person. Right? Now Moses, he was a good leader. He obeyed the Most High God. He feared the Most High God. And when we were sitting in the wilderness, Moses had to beg the Lord to spare the rod from destroying Israel. Moses had to beg the Lord to not kill every single body, right? Now Moses, being a good leader, since the Most High listened and took the advice of Moses and considered what he had to say, Moses, as being a good leader, being a good ruler, right? He knew that it was his responsibility to discipline Israel. So that way we learned that lesson. That way we wouldn't have to do that again, right? So let's read verse 25.
Exodus chapter 32, verse 25. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies.
Right? So right here we're past the story where Aaron and the rest of the Israelites made a golden calf and had that become its god, right? And the Most High God was going to destroy Israel for what they did. So Moses sees that we're all naked in the sense that we're exposed, right? We're showing how wicked we are, right? Read the next verse.
Verse 26. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on the Most High side?
So Moses asked everyone, who is on the Lord's side? Who fears the Lord? Who stands with the Lord? Keep going.
Verse 26 in the middle. Let him come unto me.
For all of you that fear the Lord and are loyal to the Lord, come join me. Come stand by me right now. Keep going.
And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together unto him.
And all the Levites went and surrounded Moses. They separated themselves from the rest of Israel, and they went to join the line of where Moses was. Keep going.
Verse 27. And he said unto them, thus saith the Most High Power of Israel, put every man his sword by his side.
What?
Put every man his sword by his side.
So Moses gave the order to all the people who were loyal to the Lord, go grab your gap. Right. Go get the strap. Put your sword and put it on your hilt, put it on your holster, put it on your belt. Go get your javelin, go get your spear, go get your axe, go get your machete, right? Keep going.
Verse 27 in the middle. And go in and out from gate to gate throughout the camp.
And I want you to go from tent to tent, from gate to gate, from camp to camp. Keep going.
And slay
and what?
And slay
and talk to.
And slay
and give a timeout.
And slay
and put them on punishment.
And slay
and take away their Nintendo Switch.
And slay
and take away their cell phone.
And slay.
Moses said to go to tent and kill, slay, put to death, chop their heads off, put the sword through their stomachs. He said to slay, keep going,
every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor.
And it doesn't matter if your father that you have to kill. It doesn't matter if it was your best friend who you grew up with since the 2nd grade. It doesn't matter if it's your wife. It doesn't matter if it's your uncle. It doesn't matter who it is. Go to tent to tent and kill them. Cut their heads off. Slay them. Right? Keep going.
Verse 28. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses.
And the Levites, they went into every tent and killed people. They went into every camp and killed people. They went from gate to gate and killed people. Whether it was their brother, their son, their mom, their auntie, their second cousin twice removed, their father-in-law. It doesn't matter. They followed this order. Keep going.
Verse 28 in the middle. And there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men.
Now, there were more than 3,000 people that went into the wilderness. Why did Moses stop at only 3,000? Why didn't he kill 4,000 people? Why didn't he kill 5,000 people? Why didn't he kill 100,000 Israelites? Why did he stop at just 3,000?
Because like the Most High that he follows, he has mercy for the people.
He has
that he
what?
loves. He has mercy for
He has
the people
what?
that he loves. Mercy.
Give him a hand. The reason why Moses didn't kill all of Israel or half of Israel or 3,099, right? Is because he has mercy, just like the Lord has mercy. Just like the Lord had mercy on Noah, where he flooded the entire earth and saved Noah. Just like he had mercy on Adam and Eve, where he didn't destroy them, but he kicked them out the garden to work hard, to see how it feels to not be under his wing, to not be provided everything, to work for everything, right? So Moses, just like his father, the Most High God, is a good leader because he has mercy. He didn't want to cause such suffering in Israel where they would hate Moses, where they would hate God. But he still had to discipline them. He still had to teach them a lesson. He still had to be a good ruler, a righteous leader, right? Let's drop that. And let's go to Psalms chapter 86, verse 5. Psalms chapter 86, verse 5.
Psalm chapter 86, verse 5. Or Aqua have it? Psalm chapter 86, verse 5. For thou, Most High, art good.
Are what?
Art good.
And the Most High is good. He makes sure we eat every day. He makes sure we don't starve, we don't die, right? He makes sure that our enemies don't overcome us and oppress us when we're obeying him, of course, right? Keep going.
And ready to forgive.
And what?
And ready to forgive.
And the Most High is always ready to forgive us. He forgave us in Egypt. He forgave us in Babylon and Assyria when we were under occupation by the Persians and the Medes. He forgave us when we were on the Greek captivity, on the Roman captivity, right? The Lord is forgiving us for every single time we come into the I.S.U.P.K and change our lives, to serve him, to fear him, right? So was ready to forgive his people, just like the Lord forgave his people. Moses was merciful to his people, just like the Lord was merciful to them. Because remember, the Lord was going to kill every single Israelite and start a whole nation of Mosites.
Right.
You know, he was going to kill all the Levites, kill all the Judites, kill all the Benjamites and Asherites and Ephraimites and Simeonites and Naphtalites and Issacharites. And he was going to start a whole race of people out from Moses, like he did from Jacob, right? But he was ready to forgive. Keep going.
Verse 5 in the middle. And plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee.
And he has plenty of mercy to everyone that calls upon him, to every Israelite that calls upon him, right? So a good ruler should be merciful just like the Lord. Or is that not something that a good ruler should have? Yes or no? Right? A good ruler, a good leader should be able to forgive, correct?
Right.
Now, are you all familiar with the story of Joseph? Yes? Tell me, what do you know about Joseph?
It's like, if I may, Joseph was one of the brothers that his father liked the most. He favored him, and he used to have his little visions telling his brothers about how they were going to come and bow down to him, and they thought he was just talking smack. So they just hated on him, they didn't like him, and they sold him to the Egyptians. They sold their brother away.
So Joseph, right? His brothers took away his favorite coat, put him in a ditch, sold him into slavery, then got sold into Egypt. Joseph ended up getting into some trouble, not from his own accord, right? Got put into prison for what, 7 years? He was put into a dungeon, dark all the time, probably not feeding him well for 7 years for something he didn't do. That's like a brother going to jail for 48 years and being free because the DNA evidence didn't match. And he just spent 48 years in prison, 48 years of his life. Couldn't finish school, couldn't be there when his mom died, while his father was struggling with cancer. Couldn't miss out on everything. Joseph was in prison for 7 years for something he didn't even do. Now, through the grace of the Lord, the mercy of the Lord, he was end up being placed in a position of power. So much power that he basically ruled all of Egypt. The Pharaoh let him rule Egypt and run Egypt, right? Let's go to the book of Genesis, the 45th chapter. What's up?
He also ran that prison.
He ruled all of Egypt.
Even though he was in a low state, he ended up leaving that state at the height of that state. Meaning he originally was the head of that cat's house. All the servants were under Joseph. Then Joseph went to jail. Joseph was at the bottom of the jail, then became the chief, like the main cat that everybody liked in the jail, and was over everybody in the jail. Then he went to Pharaoh, and then became head of all Egypt. Okay. Everywhere he went, he was going.
Let's go down. Right, so let's go to Genesis chapter 45, verse 1, right? So Joseph was, bullied by his brothers, had his favorite coat taken away, sold into slavery, all these terrible things, right? That his brothers did to him, put him in that situation. Him being in a jail cell for 7 years, him being lied on for 7 years, right? Now, brothers in the world, you step on their sneakers and they got a grudge against you forever. A sister, another girl sleeps with her man, she hates that sister for life. It could be 12 years later and 3 men later, and she could still hate that sister for sleeping with her man in the 11th grade. You know what I mean? We don't have forgiveness amongst our people. We don't have mercy. We want to get revenge and hurt that person just like they hurt us. Well, Joseph was in a position where he could get revenge. Joseph was in a position where he can throw his brothers all in jail for 14 years each. Joseph was in a position where he could have kept lying to his brothers, could not have revealed who he really was. He could have not sold his brothers food. However, the Lord is forgiving when you come to him. The Lord is merciful when you come to him. A good king has to be forgiving and merciful. A good ruler has to have forgiveness and be merciful. A good leader has to know when to forgive and when to have mercy. Abadia?
If I may, there's no king that exemplifies that more than David. Saul tried to kill him twice.
That's a good example, right? King Saul tried to kill David numerous times, throwing javelins at him while David's playing the harp, dodging, ducking, and weaving, still playing the harp, right? But Joseph, imagine, Joseph got sold into slavery, got beat up by his brothers. The brothers stole for him. He was put into prison for all these years. You would think he had every right to hold on to that grudge, because he hadn't seen his brothers for years. Years. There's people who hold on to you owing them $5 and not paying them back for a lifetime, forever. But a good ruler knows when to forgive. A good leader, like Commanding General YAHANNA, like the generals, like the captains over us, they know when to be merciful. They know when a lesson needs to be taught, and they also know when it's time to forgive. when the lesson is over with, right? So now Joseph is in a room with all his brothers, right? And he's giving them a hard time, sending them back to go to their father, telling them to leave their brother here behind, setting them up, putting gold or silver in their sacks, right? And now Joseph is like, you know what? It's time for me to reveal myself to my brothers. I cannot bear my secret that I've been holding all these years. Read verse 1.
Genesis chapter 45, verse 1. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried.
And now he had all his brothers standing in front of him, and he could no longer refrain himself. He could no longer control his emotions, control how he was feeling at that moment. And he started crying like a baby, right? Keep going.
Because every man to go out from me.
And he was there by himself, just him and his brothers in this room, in this chamber. Keep going.
And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren.
And he finally broke the silence and told his brothers who he really was. Keep going.
Verse 2. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard.
Now he cried so loud. He was crying so loud that everyone in the palace can hear him. The guards outside, the Pharaoh in his chamber, they can hear how loud and passionate Joseph was crying. Keep going.
Verse 3. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live?
And he tells his brothers, I am Joseph. I am your brother. Does our father live? Is our father Jacob alive? Is our father Israel, is he dead or not? Is he still breathing or not? Keep going.
And his brethren could not answer him.
And his brothers were like, what? What do you mean you're Joseph? Why do you care if our father is alive or not? Keep going.
For they were troubled at his presence.
Because they were like, we don't know you. We don't recognize you. You look all different. You look like an African. Just like an African, you know what I mean? He got his dashiki on and whatever Africans wear, you know. Keep going.
Verse 4. And Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near.
And he's telling them, listen, come closer to me. And they all came close. They all walked over to Joseph, got closer to Joseph. Keep going.
And he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt.
And he tells them, I'm your brother, the same one that you sold into slavery. The same one that you lied to our father and said was dead. The same brother whose coat you took and dipped it in goat's blood to say that I was dead to my own father. Who wept and cried because his son Joseph was dead from what he thought. Keep going.
Verse 5. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves. Me hither.
And it said, don't worry yourselves about the fact that you sold me into slavery. Don't be angry with yourselves. Don't think that I'm going to hurt you. Don't think that I'm going to take revenge against you. Keep going.
For God did send me before you to preserve life.
Because the reason why I am here in front of you is because what?
To preserve life.
And who sent me?
For God did send me before you to preserve life.
And the reason why I'm standing before you is because God wanted me here. God put me in this position to save your lives, to save the lives of my people. The reason why I went into slavery, the reason why I was beat up by you is because God wanted me to be in that situation. The reason why I was put in a ditch is because God wanted me to be in that ditch. The reason why I was sold was because God wanted me to be sold. The reason why I was in that dungeon and was interpreting dreams is because God wanted me in that dungeon to interpret dreams. And the reason why I'm ruling all of Egypt and saving Egypt is because God wanted me in this position to save Egypt. All because I am supposed to be saving your lives right now. All these years that I've gone through misfortune and hardship and cried and suffered and went starving is because at this very day, I was supposed to be here to save my people.
Right.
Keep going.
Verse 6. For these 2 years have the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall neither be airing nor harvest.
And he was telling them because there's going to be all these years of famine. There's going to be no food, nothing's going to grow, nothing's going to get harvest. Right? Keep going.
Verse 7. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
And God put me here to make sure you live. God put me here to make sure that you survive this famine. God put me here to make sure that you grow, that we grow powerful and mighty and survive. Keep going.
Verse 8. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God, and he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt.
And he's saying, it is not you that put me here, but God. The reason why I'm in this position is because of God. Right? Now, let's skip down a little bit, right? Let's go to the next chapter. Let's go to next, right, the chapter, and the next chapter is what again?
46.
46, and let's go down to verse 33, right? Because Joseph, now being the ruler of all Egypt, but still being a leader to his people, he's trying to make sure that he sets them up for posterity. He's trying to make sure that he sets them up to live and grow and get strong.
Genesis chapter 46, verse 33. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, what is your occupation?
Right? So when Joseph is planning this whole, he's about to finesse Pharaoh, right? He's telling them, listen, Pharaoh's going to come and ask you, when you guys come, when all of Israel comes to the land, what is your occupation? Keep going.
Verse 24. That ye shall say, thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth, even until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
So what is Joseph telling his brothers to say? Yes.
He's telling his brothers to tell the Pharaoh that they are that they are shepherds, that they work in the field.
Why?
Because the Egyptians don't like that. They're going to push it away from them, keep them away, and not bother them.
Yes. How smart is that? That's genius. Joseph set it up so that way all his family, all Israel, won't have to be bothered by Pharaoh. Won't have to be bothered by the Egyptians by simply telling them exactly what they do. They were shepherds. They were herdsmen. They had cattle and flock, and they had sheep, right? Goats. And to the Egyptians, that was an abomination. It was disgusting to the Egyptians. Oh, you tend to goats? You walk around in goat crap all day long? You smell like sheep all day long? Oh, that's disgusting. Get away from us. And that is how we ended up getting the land of Goshen. Because Joseph, like a good ruler, a good king, a good leader, is able to plan ahead, is able to plan for success as well as plan for failure. Here he was planning for failure. He knew that the only way for them to get Goshen, the only way for them to live, was that if he told Pharaoh that they were shepherds, right? Because what if the Pharaoh didn't accept his brothers when they came? What if Pharaoh didn't care whether Joseph ruled all of Egypt, right? And Joseph just wanted them to give them land just because. Well, here's the plan. If that doesn't work, we're just going to say that you're shepherds. There won't be any discussion, any more discussion after that. We're shepherds. Let them live over there away from us, right? What is another thing that a good leader should have? Right? We're learning that a good leader should be forgiving, just like we learned right here where Joseph forgave his brothers, right? What all the qualities should a good leader have? What do you think? Brother?
Patience.
Patience, yes.
Confidence.
Confidence, yes. What should we train every child to do? Brother?
To fear the Most High.
To what?
Fear the Most High.
To fear the Most High. Because when we fear the Most High, what do?
Keep the law, statutes, and commandments.
Yes. When we keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and what does that prove to the Lord? What does that show to the Lord?
That you're an upright man. That you fear him.
What?
That you're an upright man, you fear him.
Yeah, that you're upright man and you fear him. So when we fear the Lord, we obey his commandments, we show that we're upright. But what is that? What is all that proving to the Lord? Why did God love Joseph? Why did God love David so much? Why did God love all the prophets that he sent so much? Sis? What? Yes, they did. I'm looking for a different answer though.
Salakia?
Yes?
What's the original question?
The question was, right? What's another quality that a good leader should have? Right? When you fear the Lord and you keep his commandments,
Yeah.
what are you proving to the Most High God?
Fear the Lord and you keep his commandments, you're showing discipline.
Yes, you're showing discipline. But why did God love David so much?
Because he loved him.
Yes. What else?
You're the soldier, you followed orders.
Yes. What else? What? There was a reason why. There was a reason why God loved David so much.
Because he killed everybody.
Yes. Come on, you're getting to the answer.
He killed everybody.
Forget the killing part. That's following orders.
Discipline.
He was disciplined, right?
He was wild. He judged righteously.
Yes. What kind of man was David?
A man after the Lord's own heart.
Yes. David was a man after say it again?
The Lord's own heart.
David was a man after the Lord's heart. Right? David stood with the Lord. David stood firmly with the Lord. Just like Moses did, just like Ezekiel did, just like Obadiah did, just like Isaiah did. They stood firmly with the Lord. Right? They stood firm on their decisions. Because that's what the Lord is this way or no way. Right? Let's go to one of my favorite books. Let's go to 1 Maccabees. Let's go to the book of 1 Maccabees. And we'll go to chapter 2. Take your time. Right?
The first Maccabees.
1 Maccabees, chapter 2. Right? So, in order to be a good leader, in order to be a righteous king, you have to stand firmly for the Lord and by the Lord. You have to stand your ground no matter if you're going to die. You have to stand your ground no matter if you're about to lose everything. You have to stand your ground even if you're facing 3,000 men and it's just you and 300 others. Right? So you have to, because you fear the Lord, you don't fear no one else. Because you stand with the Lord, you stand firmly on what the Lord wants. You never compromise. You're not a coward. An example of what a good leader is. Someone who stands firmly by the Lord. Someone who doesn't compromise the Lord. Someone who doesn't bend or break the Lord's laws, statutes, and commandments. No matter what. 1 Maccabees chapter 2, right? Yes? 1 Maccabees chapter 2, right? Verse 16. Sorry, verse 17. 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 17.
1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 17. Then answered the king's officers and said to Matthias on this wise, thou art a ruler.
A what?
Thou art a ruler.
So the Greeks ruler that sent his officers to go to the Israelites, to put them in control, to get them in check, to get them to follow the Greek king's rules and laws and his religion. He admits that Matthias is a what? That is what?
Thou art a ruler.
He admits that Matthias is a ruler. Now Matthias is an Israelite who is deeply angered and saddened because of the destruction of his people. For seeing his people abandon God and worship false idols. For seeing his children, seeing the children of his people being slaughtered by the Greeks and their armies, right? But this officer of the Greek king calls him a ruler, right? Keep going.
Verse 17 in the middle. And an honorable and great man in this city.
And Matthias is well known throughout this city of Modin. Keep going.
And strengthened with sons and brethren.
And Matthias has lots of sons and lots of brothers. He has a big family.
Right.
Keep going.
Verse 18. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment.
And the officer of the Greek king wants Matthias, who's well known in the city, who everyone looks up to, who everyone knows and admires. He wants Matthias to be the leading example, to be the first example for everyone to follow the commandment of the Greek king. Keep going.
Like as all the heathen have done, ye and the men of Judah also. Ye and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Israel.
He wants the Greek king wants Matthias to follow the example of all the other heathens and obey the Greek king. Do what the Greek king tells him to do. Right? Keep going.
Verse 18 in the middle. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends.
Now, if Matthias does obey the Greek king, does what the Greek king wants him to do, he'll be great friends with the king.
Right.
They'll be buddies. Right? Keep going.
And thou children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards.
And all Manathias has to do is just sacrifice this pig on the altar. All Manathias has to do is turn his back to the Lord. All Manathias has to do is abandon the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. That's all Manathias has to do. And he's going to be what?
Shall be honored with silver.
He's going to have silver. What else?
And gold.
And all types of gold. 14 karat, 18 karat, 10 karat, 22 karat, pure gold bullions, right? Keep going.
And many rewards.
And he's going to get diamonds and emeralds and rubies and sapphires. He's going to get 1,000 horses and 1,000 donkeys. He's going to have mansions and big homes all over the empire, right? Keep going.
Verse 9. Then Manathias answered and spake with a loud voice.
And this was the reply of Manathias. This is the reply of every ruler that serves and fears the Lord. This is the reply of every leader that serves and fears the Most High God. And this is the reply that every man gives in the I.S.U.P.K to our oppressors. When they want us to when they want us to abandon our beliefs in America, this is what we say. When instead of going to beg and protest and riot so that way police don't choke us anymore, this is what we tell our oppressor. This is what we tell the devil that's running America right now. Keep going.
Verse 19. Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him.
Although everybody obeys the king, although every other race of people does what the king says to do, right? Keep going.
And fall away everyone from the religion of their fathers.
And they give up what their people believe. Their father and their father's father and their father's father brought them up a certain way, and they gave that up to serve the Greek king, to do what the Greek king wants. Keep going.
And give consent to his commandments.
And agree to do what the king wants. Keep going.
Verse 20. Yet will I and my sons, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
He told this officer, this Greek officer, on the orders of the Greek king, whose goal and purpose was to get Israel to keep sinning, who wanted Manathias to be the example to get other Israelites to keep sinning. Manathias told him, I, my sons, and my brothers, we are going to obey the Lord. We're going to stand with the Lord. We're going to keep these laws, keep these statutes, keep these commandments that are in our book. We're not going to be like the other heathen and give up Buddhism for what you want us, for your religion. We're not going to be like the heathen and give up Hinduism and the worship of trees and the worship of stars to follow your religion. We are going to keep the custom, heritage, and culture of our people and our God. Keep going.
Verse 21. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances.
Keep going.
Verse 22. We will not hearken to the king's word.
What will we do?
We will not hearken to the king's words.
Here in America, we won't listen to Democrats. We won't listen to Republicans in the I.S.U.P.K. Keep read it again.
We will not hearken to the king's words.
Keep going.
To go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left.
And we won't give up our religion. We won't give up our way of life. We won't give up the way of life of our ancestors. We won't eat pork because America says pork is the other white meat. We won't smoke cigarettes because America endorses and promotes smoking of tobacco. We won't use drugs We won't smoke K2. We won't sniff cocaine. We won't smoke crack out of a vial. We won't boil heroin and shoot it in our veins. We won't pop E-pills and Molly and now we're sweating. We won't do any of that stuff, right? We won't listen to what America wants us to do. We see that America is destroying the people that lives in this empire. We see who suffers in America and who prospers in America. But we're not going to break away and stray away and abandon our God, our laws, and our commandments. Keep going.
Verse 23. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment.
Now, when he was done saying all this, here comes another Jew, another Israelite, who doesn't fear the Lord, who doesn't obey the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, who doesn't stand with the Lord, who is not a man after the Lord's heart, who doesn't do the will of God. Here comes some regular, good-for-nothing Israelite who doesn't care about his people, who doesn't care about where he comes from, who doesn't care about what's being done to his people. We have a Ben Carson here. We have a Martin Luther King that steps up. We have a Malcolm X. We have a Louis Farrakhan and a Jesse Jackson and a R. Sharpton. We have that. This is that priest that bought his wife a Lamborghini because he was caught cheating. This is him right here. This is him being reincarnated. He steps up to abandon God and do what the Greek king wants to do. Keep going.
Verse 24. Which thing when Matthias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled.
Now, being a good leader, sometimes you have to show anger, because the Lord is a man of war, right?
Right.
The Lord has shown plenty of times his wrath and his fury. I don't know of no one else that can flood the earth. I don't know of no one else that can make rivers and oceans turn to blood. I don't know nothing else that can make fire come out of the ground, or open up a ground and then close the ground to swallow you whole. I don't know of nothing else that can do that.
Right.
Sometimes a ruler has to show his wrath.
Right.
Sometimes a ruler has to show his anger. Sometimes a ruler just cannot let things slide.
Right.
Because God can't just let everything slide. Just like a parent can't let their son talk back to them the sixth time without giving them a smacking on the lips. Just like a good father can't let their daughter keep lying to them and have to take away their cell phone and take away their makeup, right? Sometimes a ruler, a leader, has to lay down the law.
Right.
Has to show that he's not playing around. Just like what we're about to see right now. Keep reading.
24, in the middle. Neither could he forbid to shew his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
And he could not control himself to stop bringing judgment upon this sellout.
Right.
This traitor.
Right.
America, they kill traitors. They throw them in jail for life. They shoot them. They hang them. They inject them lethal injection. They kill them.
Right.
Because they believe so firmly on the Constitution. They believe so firmly on the strength of America. Right? Mattathias was so obedient and so loyal to the Lord that he had to do something. He had to bring punishment on this man, because he was a man who stood with the Lord. In order to be a good ruler, in order to be a righteous leader, you have to know when it's time to lay the hammer down. You have to know when it's the time to bring punishment, to destroy whatever is in the way of you and the Most High, to destroy whatever is in the way of your people from serving the Most High. That's why we go and we destroy churches. We destroy Christian pastors in debates. We destroy Muslim imams in debates. We go and destroy our sisters who are promoting abortions and think it's okay to show their ass out in the streets.
Right.
We go up against drug dealers in Queens and Harlem and Brooklyn and the Bronx and tell them to stop selling drugs and tell them that they're killing our people, that they're going to die or else. If they don't stop, they're going to die. Right? Here, Matthias killed this man. He got off his horse, took out his sword, and killed this man because this man wanted to disobey the Lord in front of Matthias. That's like you're with your son and some person just comes up and punches your son in the face. You just gonna let that slide?
Right.
You just gonna let that go? Some random person just comes up and smacks the crap out of your daughter. You have some Karen out in the world that spits on your daughter, that says to go back to your country. Spits on her, punches you in the eye. You gonna let that slide? Matthias wasn't gonna let that slide. He just stood up for all of Israel right there. He just stood his ground for the Lord. And then this this coon, this traitor, this Jay-Z and P. Diddy, this smart cookie Kanye West, decides to, in front of everyone, to say F Matthias and F the Lord. I'm going to go kill this pig so that way I can get this silver and I can get this gold. Matthias wasn't having that. Keep going.
Verse 25. Also, the king's commissioner who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time.
And also, the Greek officer that was following the Greek king's command to get everyone to sin, to get everyone to abandon God, to get Matthias to sacrifice this pig, Matthias killed him too. How dare you come to me and my people and want us to sacrifice swine, touch a dead pig, kill a dead pig on the altar, tell us to abandon our God? You have the audacity to come here with commands from your Greek king to tell us to get rid of our customs, to get rid of our culture and embrace yours? You're done too. And Matthias killed this man too. Keep going.
Right. 25 at the end. And the altar he pulled down.
And what did he do?
And the altar he pulled down.
The altar where people were sacrificing abominable things.
Right.
Praying to all these fake gods. Matthias tore it down.
Right.
No one's going to sacrifice the swine on this altar anymore. No one's going to light incense to fake gods here anymore. No one's going to bring fruits and vegetables and corn and kill goats here for other gods anymore. Keep going.
Verse 26. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God.
He did what?
Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God.
And he did this with zeal. He was moved to follow and obey God. No, you know what's a good example? For instance, you know, you're out in the world, right? And you have, you know, your favorite sports team, right? Better example. I was listening to some battle rap the other day, right? It was Cassidy versus Arsenal. Cassidy, you know, That rapper, my drink and my two-step, my drink and my two-step is on this, right? Yeah, Cassidy battle rapping some battle rapper named Arsenal, right? And Arsenal ends up breaking down how he was such a huge Cassidy fan, right? And he said, I used to fight people who said that this other rapper was better than you. He didn't even know Cassidy at that time. He just knew Cassidy was dope. Cassidy was the truth. Cassidy had the best bars. And if anyone said anything bad about Cassidy, they were getting punched in the face. Just like you have a boy that you so close with. If anyone says anything bad about your homeboy, you punch them in the face. If anyone said anything bad about your homegirl, you will punch them in the face. That's how hard you and this person were rocking. That's the zeal. His zeal was lit. He's like, you're going to talk about God? If you're going to talk bad about God, you're getting punched in the face. If you're going to disobey God, I'm going to punch you in your face. Mattathias has so much zeal and rode so hard for the Lord that it was as equal as this person right here. Keep reading.
Verse 26 in the middle. Like as Phoenix did unto Zambri, the son of Shalom.
Who knows who Phineas is? And I'm not talking about Phineas and Ferb from the Disney television show. All right. I'm going to tell you who Phineas is right now. Hold where you are right now, right? And go to Numbers chapter 25. Go to the book of Numbers chapter 25. We're going to start at verse 1. We're about to find out who Phineas was. We're about to find out the comparison between Mattathias and Phineas. Why we're being told how much zeal he had. We're about to understand how much he stood for the Lord and for the laws and for the commandments of God. Keep going.
Numbers chapter 25, verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab.
So Israel ended up moving and living in this land, and our men began to sleep with Asians. For some strange reason, I guess this is where we get that whole exotic and foreign thing in. You know how they say, oh, you want something exotic and foreign, to get yourself an Asian from Taiwan or China or, Tibet or something. Keep going.
Verse 2. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods.
So our men were sleeping with Asian women, and our people were worshiping these Asian people's gods, whoever their gods were. Keep going.
Verse 3. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Most High was kindled against Israel.
And we joined unto their god, Baal Peor. And the Lord became angry with us. Keep going.
Verse 4. And the Most High said unto Moses.
And the Lord said unto who?
Unto Moses.
Unto Moses. Keep going.
Take all the heads of the people.
What?
Take all the heads of the people.
Say that again, slowly, please.
Take all the heads of the people.
Because we learned earlier, right, that Moses had the Levites kill 3,000 people and had mercy and didn't kill any more. But now we're sinning again. And the Lord told Moses, because our men were sleeping with ugly Asians, because our people were worshiping their gods, the Lord told Moses to what?
Take all the heads of the people.
To take the heads of the people. How do you take someone's head? Brother? You cut their head off. You behead them. Keep going.
And hang them up.
What?
And hang them up.
No. Say that again.
And hang them up.
So the Lord told Moses, listen, Moses, listen, M, go kill them, cut their heads off, and hang their heads. Keep going.
And hang them up before the Most High against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Most High may be turned away from Israel.
You want me to forgive Israel again? After I forgave them in the mount when they were worshiping some golden calf? You want me to forgive them again? Well, listen, Moses, you're going to have to go and kill a bunch of Israelites, cut their heads off, and hang them for me to see. That way I can forgive all of Israel again. Keep going.
Verse 5. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his men that was joined unto Baal-Peor.
And they were given instructions to kill every man that joined themselves to this fake god. Keep going.
Verse 6. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses.
And now while all our men were being killed for sleeping with Asian women, and while our people were being killed for worshiping Baal Peor, you had some, what's a perfect example? You had a John Legend dummy who likes whatever Christy T, what's that? The Asian that John Legend is married to, whatever her name, Christine something.
John Legend is married to a heathen?
Yes, it's a heathen. You have this and I love it, yeah. Who's that guy?
Oh.
And I love it.
Young Jeezy. Young Jeezy. You have Young Jeezy who's married and in love with some disgusting looking Asian. Come and bring a woman who's a heathen in front of Moses, in front of all the congregation. Imagine the people around you are being killed for sleeping with heathens, for worshiping a fake god, and then your son comes home with a heathen because he's about to sleep with her, have sex with her. Well, people are being put to death for the very same thing. Well, people are being put to death for worshiping a fake god. Keep going.
Verse 6 in the middle. And in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
People are around crying because people's heads are getting chopped off. People are trying not to die because their head about to get chopped off. And you have this Israelite, this traitor, this disobedient man. Bring home a heathen. Right? Keep going.
Verse 7. And when Phinehas.
Who?
And when Phinehas.
Here's Phinehas. We're about to learn who Phinehas is. Keep going.
The son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest.
He was the grandson of the chief of the chief priest. Aaron, a Levite. Remember how Moses said, for everyone who's loyal to the Lord, stand with me? And all the Levites came to stand with him. Well, you have this Levite, who's the grandson of Aaron, the chief priest, the head priest in charge. Bring home a heathen woman. Sorry, let's backtrack. You had Phinehas, the grandson of the chief priest of Israel, the Levites, right? We're about to find out what Phinehas is about to do, because Phinehas sees this Israelite bring home this heathen woman. Keep going.
Verse 7 in the middle. He rose up from among the congregation.
What did he do?
He rose up from among the congregation.
So Phinehas sees from across the street, from the other side of the camp, and sees this Israelite man walking hand in hand with some disgusting heathen, with some Asian, with some African, with a white woman, with an East Indian, with a Persian, with a person from Iraq, whatever heathen woman you want to substitute in its place, it's all the same, right? He sees them walking, and keep going.
And took a javelin.
Took a what?
And took a javelin.
What's a javelin? Brother?
It's like, I believe it's like a spear of some sort.
Yes, it's a small spear that you use for throwing.
Right.
So he sees this Israelite walking with this disgusting heathen to go have sex with her. He gets up and brings his javelin, a weapon. Keep going.
And he took a javelin in his hand. Verse 8. And when he went after the man of Israel into the tent.
He did what?
And he went after the man of Israel into the tent.
And he saw which tent this man and this disgusting heathen whore went into, and he went into the same tent. Now, what do you think they're doing in this tent? This man is holding hands with a heathen woman, brings her into his tent where no one else is. No one can see what they're doing. Tent, the door closed and locked. Tent closed. What do you think they're doing in there? This man is getting down and dirty with this disgusting woman, with this heathen. See, little man shaking his head. That's right. He's doing something he's not supposed to. Because she's not black like your mom. She's not Hispanic like your mom. She's not a Native American like your mom. It's this ugly, disgusting Asian, an ugly, disgusting Arab, a disgusting African, a white woman named Karen, and he's doing something he's not supposed to be doing. He's sleeping with her. Keep going.
Verse 8. And thrust both of them through.
What?
And thrust both of them through.
And in the middle of them doing the nasty, in the middle of them sleeping with each other, he kills both of them. He takes his spear, puts it through his back and through her stomach at the same time. Or he puts it through her back and his stomach at the same time. You be creative.
Sure.
Either way, he kills them. He puts the javelin through both of their bodies at the same time. Keep going.
Verse 8 in the middle. The man of Israel and the woman through her belly.
So there we go. He puts it through the man of Israel, so he puts it through his back and through her belly. Keep going.
So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
Keep going.
Verse 9. And those that died in the plague were 24,000.
So 24,000 people were murdered. 24,000 people were slain, were killed based on the command of the Lord. And Phinehas was so passionate about serving the Lord because he came from a righteous stock. He came from the head priest of all of Israel, Aaron, the Levite. He came from that same seed, and he was staunch in following the Lord. He was raised to obey and fear the Lord. He was so passionate and moved and to serve the Lord that he went to do the Lord's will and kill this disobedient Israelite man who was sleeping with this heathen woman. Keep going.
Verse 10. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, verse 11, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, have turned my wrath away from the children of Israel.
Who turned the wrath away from the children of Israel?
Phinehas.
Who?
Phinehas.
Because of what Phinehas did? Because he was so zealous for obeying the Lord. Because he stood his ground to serve the Lord. Because he was raised by leaders, good leaders. What did he do?
Have turned my wrath away from the children of Israel.
Because of what Phinehas did on his own will, Phinehas could have just let that Israelite go into his tent with this woman and do whatever he wants. Phinehas could have looked the other way. But Phinehas decided to do something, to stand for the Lord, just like Mattathias was standing for the Lord. Keep going.
Verse 11 at the ending. While he was for my sake among them.
And he was zealous for the Lord. Keep going.
That I consume not the children of Israel in my jealousy.
He was so zealous, Phinehas wanted the Lord not to destroy all of Israel. So Phineas took it into his own hands to do the will of the Lord. Now let's go back to the first Maccabees.
Right.
So verse 20, chapter 2, verse 26. So we now know who Phineas is.
Right.
We know how zealous Phineas was for the Lord. That Phineas was ready to kill anyone who disobeyed the Lord. Anyone who was bringing punishment to Israel. Anyone who was not acting like a brother. He was ready to off of his head. Because he loved God so much that he would do whatever the Lord wanted. Then let's keep reading. Go read verse 27.
27. First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 27. And Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice.
And after Matthias killed this sellout who was about to sacrifice pork on the altar, and after he killed this officer of the Greek king, he cries out so that everyone in the city could hear him. Keep going.
Saying, whosoever is zealous of the Lord.
What?
Saying, whosoever is zealous of the Lord.
Whosoever is zealous of the law. Let's look at what zealous means. Let's look at what zeal. That way we walk away with a better understanding. Because Phineas was zealous.
Right.
Matthias was zealous. Right? They all stood firm for the Lord. What does zealous mean? Brother?
Zealous. With passionate, adore, with eagerness. The quality of being zealous, warmly engaged or ordinate in the pursuit of an object.
Okay, well let's break it down. What does zeal mean? Yes?
A strong want or determination to do something.
That's a good example. You have to have a strong want to serve the Lord. A leader, a good ruler, a king has to have the strong desire, the strong want to serve the Lord and follow his laws, statutes, and commandments. Let's go back to Maccabees. Let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 27. Go on, take your time. First Maccabees
2 and verse 27.
Correct.
Answer, 1 second. 27. And Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
So whoever has a strong will, strong desire to serve the Lord, and who keeps the laws, to follow me. That's what a good leader does. A good leader makes it known that he's going to do what the Lord wants. And anyone else that wants to do what the Lord wants, to follow me, to follow him. Just like Matthias was just announced right there. Keep going.
28. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city.
Now they went on the run. They left everything they owned behind. Keep going.
God. 29. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there.
And anyone that wanted justice for the Lord, anyone that wanted judgment for the Lord, went and joined Matthias. So I ask you, everyone in this room, everyone that's watching, whether it's today, tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now, don't you want to be a leader?
Right.
Don't you want a leader? Don't you want someone that's going to be merciful like the Lord?
Right.
Don't you want someone that's going to be forgiving like the Lord? Don't you want someone that's going to correct you when you're wrong because they love you and they want you to do what's right, like the Lord? Don't you want someone to lead you and guide you who's never going to turn their back on the Lord, who's always going to stand for the Lord, who's not going to break the law, statutes, and commandments at all. Don't you want that kind of leader? Because with Barack Obama, black people voted for that African, and he did nothing for black people besides give them Obama phones.
Right.
Right? With 500 minutes every month, and then that's it. Unlimited text. Ooh-wee. Like you don't get that with Verizon and Sprint and Metro PCS and Simply Mobile. Well, what did Bill Clinton do for black and Hispanic people besides telling us that he plays the saxophone and smokes weed? What? Whether he gave us food stamps or not. Whoop-de-doo. It wasn't just for black people, he gave it for everyone. Abadia?
He put more black men in jail than any president in history.
Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah.
That's what Bill Clinton did. Bill Clinton put more black people in jail than any president in history. What is Donald Trump doing? We had all these people, black people for Trump, Hispanic people for Trump, Mexican people for Trump, and we got a bunch of Hispanic men, women, and children in cages on the border.
Right.
So do you want that kind of leader that's going to abuse you, that's going to lead you astray, that's going to lie to you, that's going to say one thing and do another? Do you want a leader that's not of your own people? Or do you want a leader that is going to obey the Lord, that's going to always stand firmly with the Lord and not waver, not shake, not bend here, bend there? The answer should be simple. The answer is you should want a leader to guide you like David, like Moses, like Phineas, like Mattathias. Because that's the kind of leadership that we need here in America. Black, Hispanic, and Native American people need the I.S.U.P.K because we love you so much that we will correct you. Whether you like it or not, we will correct you and tell you what you're doing wrong and tell you what you need to do right. We will be merciful for you. We will be merciful to you when you deserve mercy. We will forgive you when you need to be forgiven. We'll also cast judgment and punishment when you need that correction. And most importantly, we have a strong desire to serve the Lord. And with that, I'm Priest and Officer Sharga Khan of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. And since 1969, the Most High God has allowed men before us to be leaders, to be the leaders that we needed. Just like Commanding General YAHANNA is the leader that we have and need now. And with that, Shalom. I pass the class over to Priest and Prophet, Officer of Body.
Yes.